How did you evolve from being a guitar tech to being a road manager and now a live sound mixer?
Great question, because that's not something that would usually happen. You know, most guitar techs sort of stay in that world. But for me, my background was already in engineering. I learned how to be an engineer back in my college years. And I played in many bands, and I would run sound from the stage. I would have a little mixer right there on the stage. So I learned a lot about engineering over the years. And so I think it was on a Larry Carlton tour that we needed a sound engineer. And Larry knew that I could do that. And he said, when you're done setting up my guitar, would you consider running sound? And I said, sure, I love to do that. And so I went out and started running sound for him. And then later on, of course, Robben Ford asked me to do the same thing, and Michael Landau asked me to do the same. And so it kept going. It's a reasonable transition because in the guitar tech world, we are very concerned about tone, as you know. And when you're mixing sound, that's the same type of concept. You really want to make sure that the tones are accurate and correct, and that the musicians sound like they really sound. Not how the engineer would want them to sound necessarily, but how they sound. And with world-class musicians, if an engineer can make them sound like they sound, then everything is correct.
Correct.
So I think guitar tech, we are really aware of tone, and it translates into being a front of house engineer also.
Okay.
Yeah.
I understand that you are also a recording engineer.
Yes.
Does that background help with your work on the road?
Of course. It's one of these things where, again, if you're aware of tones and how people really sound, then in the studio, you can take more time to use the correct microphone and get the microphones placed in the appropriate places so that they, again, are recorded like they really sound. So it's a very interesting comparison to be a live engineer and a studio engineer. Fortunately for me, with the musicians that I've had a chance to work with, they always hire the world-class engineers. So I've learned very much from the world's greatest engineers like Ed Cherney and George Massenburg and Joe Acapinti and Chubba Petos. Those guys have taught me. And so I'm very fortunate in that way as well.
I imagine that living in Nashville, you have the opportunity to work with a lot of amazing artists, right?
Yes.
Are you currently working with anyone there we might know?
Of course, I'm on tour more than I'm in Nashville, but right now I'm working on a project for a great guitar player from a band called Sea Level, and his name is Jimmy Knowles. Some other guys in that band that you might know are Chuck Leavell, who is now playing with the Rolling Stones, keyboard, great. But Jimmy has he has been not so healthy lately, and so we are doing a recording project as a benefit for Jimmy. And there are many great musicians that are coming forth. There are Vince Gill and Joe Bonamassa, and of course Larry Carlton is playing, and Robben Ford is playing, and just many musicians from around the Nashville area are coming to record and being a part of this benefit for him. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yes.
And we're getting toward the end of that project. And I'm looking forward to having that finished and having it be of a benefit to him.
Oh, it's very nice.
Yeah, it's great.